There is a silent strength within each of us, a flame burning quietly beneath the layers of fear, doubt, and distraction. This strength, this inner fire, is the source of willpower. It is neither given to us by fate nor handed down from others. It is something we must forge ourselves. Throughout the centuries, men and women who have walked the path of wisdom have recognized the necessity of building willpower. It is not an indulgence or a luxury, but a necessity, for without it, we are at the mercy of every fleeting desire, every storm of emotion, every whim of circumstance. The Stoics, those ancient thinkers of unshakable resolve, understood this better than anyone. They lived in times not unlike ours, times of chaos, uncertainty, and distractions. Yet, they were not swayed by the tumult around them. They remained anchored, like rocks in the midst of a raging sea. The question we must ask ourselves today is this: how did they do it? The foundation of willpower, a mind aligned with nature. Willpower is not born from force or coercion. It cannot be demanded into existence by sheer effort alone. No, willpower is born from alignment, an alignment with nature itself. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and one of the great Stoic thinkers, understood this well. He said, "Nothing happens to any man that he is not formed by nature to bear." This is the first truth we must recognize: our willpower is forged not in opposition to the natural order, but in harmony with it. We must understand that life will present us with difficulties. It will challenge us, bend us, and, at times, break us. But nature has equipped us with the capacity to endure. There is no trial, no hardship, no misfortune that we cannot face, because nature has designed us to bear the weight of our existence. Willpower, therefore, begins with the acceptance of life's challenges, not as burdens, but as opportunities for growth. The enemy of willpower, destructive emotions. Yet, there is an enemy within us that seeks to undermine our willpower at every turn: our emotions. The Stoics were not cold or detached. They understood that emotions were part of the human experience. But they also recognized that uncontrolled emotions were dangerous, like wild beasts running rampant within the soul. "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality," said Seneca. How often do we allow fear, anger, or despair to cloud our judgment? How often do we let these emotions dictate our actions, leading us away from the path of wisdom and strength? Willpower, then, is the art of mastering these emotions, not by suppressing them, but by understanding them. It is not about becoming emotionless, but about becoming the master of our emotions, rather than their slave. When fear arises, we must recognize it for what it is: a distortion of reality, a projection of the mind onto the unknown. When anger flares, we must see it as a loss of perspective, a narrowing of our vision to the immediate rather than the eternal. And when despair grips us, we must remind ourselves that it is not the events of life that are unbearable, but our judgment of those events. Epictetus, another great Stoic philosopher, taught that it is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. This is the heart of willpower, the ability to choose our response to the world, rather than reacting instinctively or emotionally. In every moment, we have a choice: to allow our emotions to dictate our actions, or to rise above them, and act with clarity and purpose. The practice of willpower, daily discipline. But willpower is not something that can be summoned at will. It is not a switch that can be flipped in times of need. Willpower is a muscle, and like any muscle, it must be exercised regularly if it is to grow strong. The Stoics were practitioners of discipline, understanding that small, daily acts of self-control were the foundation of greater strength in moments of crisis. If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid, said Epictetus. This is the essence of discipline, to forego immediate pleasure, to endure discomfort, to embrace the difficult path, not for the sake of suffering, but for the sake of growth. Each time we resist the urge to give in to temptation, we strengthen our will. Each time we face a challenge head-on, rather than avoiding it, we build our resilience. Discipline, for the Stoic, was not about punishment or deprivation. It was about freedom, freedom from the tyranny of desire, freedom from the enslavement of comfort. For the Stoic, true freedom came not from indulging every whim, but from mastering oneself. Willpower, then, is the ultimate expression of freedom, for it is only when we have control over our own minds and actions that we can be truly free. The role of virtue in willpower. But what is willpower without purpose? The Stoics believed that willpower must be directed towards something greater than oneself. It is not enough to have strength of will, one must also have virtue, for without virtue, willpower can become mere stubbornness or cruelty. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be." B1. To the Stoic, the purpose of willpower is not self-aggrandizement, but self-improvement. It is the means by which we strive towards virtue, towards becoming the best version of ourselves. Willpower is not about dominating others or imposing our will on the world. It is about mastering ourselves so that we may live in accordance with the highest principles of wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance. When we align our willpower with virtue, we find that it becomes unshakable. For it is no longer tied to the fleeting desires of the moment, but to the eternal truths that have guided humanity for millennia. No man is free who is not master of himself, said Epictetus. And true mastery of oneself comes not from the pursuit of power or pleasure, but from the pursuit of virtue. The power of perception, reframing adversity. Willpower is often tested in the face of adversity. When life throws its worst at us, it is easy to feel overwhelmed, to give in to despair or bitterness. But the Stoics understood that adversity is not inherently negative. It is our perception of adversity that determines its impact on us. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way, wrote Marcus Aurelius. This is one of the most profound teachings of Stoicism, that obstacles are not barriers, but opportunities. Every challenge we face is a chance to practice our willpower, to strengthen our resolve, to grow in virtue. When we reframe adversity in this way, we no longer see it as something to be feared or avoided. Instead, we see it as an essential part of our journey towards wisdom and strength. Adversity, in this light, becomes a gift, for it allows us to test our willpower and prove to ourselves that we are capable of overcoming even the greatest of challenges. The unity of humanity, willpower as service. While willpower is deeply personal, it is not something that exists in isolation. The Stoics believed that we are all part of a greater whole, a universal community bound by the common thread of humanity. Marcus Aurelius often reflected on this in his meditations, reminding himself that his actions should not be guided by selfish desires, but by a sense of duty to others. What is not good for the hive is not good for the bee. Willpower, then, is not simply about achieving personal strength or resilience. It is about using that strength in service of others. When we cultivate willpower, we are not only preparing ourselves to face our own challenges, but we are also preparing ourselves to be of greater help to those around us. Our willpower becomes a source of strength not only for ourselves but for our families, our communities, and ultimately, for humanity as a whole. When we view willpower in this way, we realize that it is not a solitary endeavor. It is something we build together, through our relationships, through our support of one another, through our shared commitment to virtue. We are not alone in this journey. We are part of a larger whole, and our strength comes not only from within but from the bonds we share with others. The eternal struggle, willpower as a lifelong practice. In the end, building unbreakable willpower is not a destination, but a lifelong practice. It is something we must cultivate every day, through our thoughts, our actions, and our interactions with the world around us. We will stumble. We will fall. There will be days when we feel weak, when our will falters, when the weight of life seems too much to bear. But it is in those moments that our willpower is truly tested, and it is in those moments that we have the greatest opportunity to grow. The Stoics knew that life is not easy, and they did not shy away from this truth. They embraced it. They saw life's difficulties as the very thing that makes us strong. The greater the difficulty, the more glory in surmounting it, said Epictetus. And this is the final truth we must accept, that willpower is not about avoiding difficulty, but about embracing it. We are all capable of building unbreakable willpower, not through force, but through understanding. Not through avoidance, but through acceptance. Not through selfishness, but through service. In every moment, we have the opportunity to choose the path of strength, the path of virtue, the path of wisdom. And it is in making that choice, day after day, that we become unbreakable. Let us walk this path together, knowing that the flame of willpower burns within us all. We are not alone in this struggle, and together, we can forge the strength to overcome anything that life may throw our way.